Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Tonight, my guest is Aage Nost. Before I bring him on, just a couple of announcements. You can always get new episodes free on Rokfin, Odysee, and of course, all podcast platforms. Click the link in the description and check us out on Rokfin. This is where you get all our premium content. You get all our shows first here on Rokfin. And best of all, you get all the awesome content from every creator that is here with us. Also, check out the amazing new podcast by the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You can get them all in one place. That's our website, forbiddenknowledge.news. We also have Facebook pages. I never talk about those. They've always been there, though. Those links are in the description as well. You can follow us there to get show announcements, updates, and all kinds of important information about the network. Check out our merch store. You can get shirts, hoodies, stickers, mugs, all kinds of awesome FKN gear. Finally, guys, we're living in extremely unsure times at the moment, and an emergency food supply would be a good investment. Check out the experts in emergency preparedness, My Patriot Supply. They're nutritious, delicious food. It stays good in storage for up to 25 years, and right now you can get up to $100 off a 4-week supply of their food. Just click the link in the description to see what My Patriot Supply can do for you. Tonight, I want to welcome back to the show Aage Nost. He is author, researcher, producer, filmmaker, and a co-host on Broadcast Team Alpha. He has had years of experience in the paranormal field, including hypnosis and mind development. Aage, welcome back. How you doing tonight?
Well, hello. Here I am again. This is going to be fun.
Oh, of course. It's always fun talking to you. It's actually been a couple of years since you've been on, man. And
really?
Oh yeah, I think almost 2 years, and we're living in a much different world than we were then. I'd say. I like to think about it as I imagine someone falling into a coma in 2019, and they happen to wake up today. If it was me, I would have thought I've died and gone to some backwards hellish dimension, complete with face masks, mandates on experimental injections, crumbling society and economy, food shortages, and a major manufactured split in society, socially, politically, emotionally, spiritually, and on top of all that, our perpetually dishonest media and government that wants us to know, for some reason, now that UFOs are real. And this is a new agenda we're dealing with on top of everything else. So I'd say we're definitely living in fascinating times, some interesting dystopian times, and I'd even say prophetic times. But no, it's been so long since you've been on. I'd love for you to remind the audience that may not be familiar with you a bit about yourself, your background, and what led you down your current path.
Oh man. I guess that starts back in Europe. I grew up in Norway, right up there, in the north where we have polar bears for pets. Not really, but it's quite a ways up there where there wouldn't be any flat earthers up there. I'll tell you that, because in the summer, the sun never goes down. It is there all the time, and we don't have night. So that's a new one. But at the age of 25, I came to the United States to become a commercial pilot, and I did that. I flew for a living for 23 years. I had a flight school, international air taxi, and we had an air carrier. And I burned out. When you do too much of it, you burn out sometimes. And I was an accident waiting to happen, so I did the right thing. I quit. So I started doing other things, and I started oil painting and developing the mind more than I had used and done before. And was teaching a mind development course that did some amazing things. And I started getting into radio. I've done radio shows for about 7 years, and I hosted and produced 2 TV shows in Tucson for 6 years. That was one of them was The Hidden Truths, which means, yeah, exactly that. I covered all the stuff that people wasn't supposed to know about. And, I don't know, now me and Nori Love, we have put together Broadcast Team Alpha. And that is a radio show on the internet. And we also put together a mastermind group of tremendously powerful minds, and we have a really it's a good community where we create the future before we have to live it. In fact, later in the show, maybe I'll just tell you how you can come and check us out and see if you want to be part of a spiritual think tank. That could get interesting.
Oh yes, definitely. I want to talk about all of that and then some more. But I want to start with your thoughts on the times we're living in right now. Very interesting times. I've always had this deep feeling, even growing up as a kid, that the future would be maybe a little intense and maybe interesting, and maybe I would see things that people haven't witnessed in thousands of years, and we would be living in times of very high strangeness. And in 2020, all this started happening, and we're definitely living in times of high strangeness with a quite unsure future. But like I said, there's this split amongst people. I like to think that things aren't that bad. I look out of my window, I go outside during the day, and people are going about their lives. The birds are chirping. I don't see people dropping dead in the streets. I don't see a reason to go get an experimental injection. Things are pretty good on my end, but there's this other reality that people are living in right now where there's panic in the streets, and if you don't go get this done, you're going to be shunned from society in this total dystopian nightmare that they try to show us on the news that doesn't exist in my reality, but it exists in some people's, and they're trying to pull everybody to that timeline, if you want to call it. How's it been for you since we've last spoken? Are you seeing the same types of things?
Well, I'm totally with you on that one. I have no problems, and yeah. I don't really allow myself to see any problems, though we know they are there.
Yeah.
And everybody that is embedded in the problem, guess what? They're going to have more problems because we are living in a mind-created universe, and quantum mechanics is showing us that. They prove it. So the mind has something to do with how we perceive things, and how we perceive it is how we feel it, and what we have in our feelings is what comes out and get projected out around us. So this gets really deep, but when I look at the future, I see great, nice things, because that is what I create in my mind, and that is what we create in the mastermind. And so far, it's been, well, we've pretty much gotten everything we've asked for. We're not through the tunnel yet with everything being completed, but it had been nice. For most of the people on there, great things are happening, and I think when it comes to looking at the problem around us, we need to look at the other side of that coin. And that other side is how we perceive it to be. That shows up on the other side of the coin. And I just put a video on broadcastteamalpha.com about what the future will be like and why. Because we're coming from the past. Oh, let me back up. We are embedded in the fourth dimension here, which is time. Time's coming from the past, passing through the present, and headed on into the future. So whatever was back there in the past, it brought the memories and brought the baggage with it. But here in the present, we have an opportunity. We can change the projection of the past and going a different direction. We can create new timelines for ourselves. If we change nothing today of what we had yesterday, last week, last month, and last year, then it's very predictable where we are going into the future. If we start making different decisions today and say, nope, I'm not going to think that way anymore. I'm not on this train anymore. I'm going to go that way. You start a new timeline with different things in it. And now it seems like all the people in the back, they got their own timeline with most of the same ones in it, but the timelines are converging on a spot in the future where, I guess the term is, we will have won, because the dark side already have lost, because that is proven in the future. And there is indications to that. We have the there's more information coming out thanks to you guys and what you're doing on the internet, what we're doing, and other thousands of other people out there spreading the information about that. Hey, those are lies. And, don't listen to, you know what CNN stands for, right?
It
Certainly not news.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely entering a time where the collective consciousness wants to expand, and most people that I'm interacting with are awakening to what's happening and want to be on the timeline that's going to bring them to a better reality. But you're right, it's not only our perception of what's going on, it's going to be our reaction to it. And collectively right now, since there is such a huge split in these timelines, I agree that we are kind of converging, because I think that collectively our consciousness wants to be in a better place. We want to come back to, I guess, source, if you want to say, but we may be creating our own, turmoil to get us collectively to this state. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. And we're so good at it. Boy, are we good at it. But still remember, there's a more brilliant man than me. About 2,400 years ago, he said, it's not the bad things that happen in your life that bothers you. It is how you think of the bad things that happen in your life that bothers you. So let's start thinking different. There are things that are happening right now that is not good out there, but look at it, turn a coin over. Good things can come from very bad things. And I am definitely one of those that have had that happen. Real disasters. I lost everything my own twice in my life. But good things have come out of it. And this is something that we should start thinking about. We create the future now and place it in the future. It goes right back to the law of attraction, which Nora Love is been trained to talk about and teach. Law of attraction works all the time because of how you feel, what you think, and your environment. If you have a good environment, wonderful thoughts, hang around good people, good things are going to happen to you.
Yes.
Just by osmosis, sometimes good things will fall out of trees on your path.
Yes,
and
I've witnessed this firsthand.
Then again, if you hang around rotten scoundrels and think about crime and read Stephen King novels all the time, sorry, Stephen, all bets are off.
Yeah, I know. I understand exactly what you mean, and I've experienced that firsthand. It's just a way of, I believe, manifesting our own reality, and I also believe that it can be used on the other, the other hand, that there are some that are in great positions of power that know how to manifest things negatively and attempting to project it on us. And I think one of the biggest ways they've been trying to do this, of course, first since the advent of the television, but now we have social media and these AI algorithms, which for me, it's pretty terrifying, some of the things that these algorithms can pick up on. And, I'll be scrolling through Facebook or YouTube, and the predictions that it makes, not only based on what I've been looking at before, but it appears that it's somehow reading my thoughts and predicting, listening to me during the day. It'll show me something that I talked about earlier that day, or even didn't realize I talked about. I thought I was just thinking about things, and it'll show up on Facebook, Instagram, all these social media outlets. Do you think that there has been a infiltration from AI into these systems, but a more sophisticated type of AI that we have no idea about, that could be a learning system way smarter than we've ever imagined?
You are being listened to 24 hours a day, and guess who is listening to you? Right there.
Yeah.
That's the one. Because even if you turn it off, there's a function called hot on the hook, it's been around for 20 some years. They can turn on the phone even if you had turned it off. The only way to do that is to take the battery out, and you can't do that anymore. Guess why they put that together? You can't take the battery out. Now you're locked in. They can hear everything. But they say, oh, it's for advertising. Yeah, it is for advertising, among other things. But, we hear the problems, and I just can't help it. I also like to talk a little bit about the solutions.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's another thing that is happening in society now. I just had 2 or 3 days ago, there was a lady that called me and actually texted me, and she says that I had to go take that thing that people are supposed to do these days.
The experiment, yes.
Yeah, the experiment. And otherwise, I couldn't see my family. Well, don't buckle down on that one. Your life is dependent on it. What is more worthy, you and your life, or visiting your family? What we are going through right now will be over at one point, and then you will have your family back. In the meantime, tell them to go to Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of sand there that they can pound.
Yeah.
So don't give in to it. Be strong, because your life is worth more. Don't buckle down to pressure. It's gonna feel like it is. Yeah, it feels bad at the time. But no, it's not worth it.
Do you think that we as a collective society are going to be in a position to where we can collectively refuse this and maybe converge into the correct timeline within our lifetime, within the next few years, because there's such a huge split in the direction that they're trying to guide people? And on top of that, all they're showing us is one aspect of this in the media, their version. So we can't really gauge how many people are on the right timeline, how many people are thinking collectively in this way. But I have a feeling it's a lot of people. I have a feeling it's probably more than the other side, but that's just me being optimistic. Do you think it's enough for us to switch, to converge to this other timeline collectively as a whole?
I am totally convinced that it is, because more people are waking up by the horde, and the people that was totally embedded in the lies before, they are now starting to see that something is wrong here. There is something going on. Maybe I should listen a little bit what's going on outside of the box. And they are coming our direction because it is so obvious. They don't even hide the lies from us anymore. They're just telling us about it. And then after that, they'll tell us what they're doing. Then they tell you that, well, we think the American people are very smart, and then they build them up. It's kind of like feel, felt, found. That's, I know how you feel. This is how I felt too. But then I discovered this. And you got to look behind what they're saying. When it comes to politicians, don't even believe a single word they tell you. Look at what they do. Yeah. That's where the answers are, who they are. And there is, I just put another video not long ago on broadcastteamalpha.com about an electronic device that was created back in the 1960s. And it was commissioned to be done by the Catholic Church. And these people, they've had a look at the future also, because this device that they had commissioned was done by 12 of the most brilliant minds at the time in the 1960s. Albert Einstein and some of the others. And it's called a chronovisor. It had a TV tube in it, and they could tune it to certain times and locations and people in the past. And they could see what was going on. But they also said they could tune it to the future by maybe looking into the unified field. So they had a look at the future, and it scared the daylight out of them.
Now, where did you find this information?
The chronovisor, there's a short video on broadcastteamalpha.com that I put together there, and people can go look at it. You will see initially on YouTube, at least you can see what it looks like. And there's a drawing of it, because they've been pretty, the Catholic Church said that they dismantled it because they were afraid that somebody could use it for bad purposes. Yeah. Knowing what the Catholic Church stands for, no, they didn't dismantle it.
Now, did someone leak this information about this device? An insider?
Yeah, there is two of the guys that was involved in the project. They came forth later on and they spoke about it. And one of them wrote a book in 2002. The information on that is on that video I created also. And they talk about what they saw and some of the things that they saw. And gosh, there's amazing things that they have seen in the past, as well as what they claim to have seen in the future. So they've been watching the future. And I think they're still using it, trying to direct the future in their direction. But they don't really understand timelines, because they may have a timeline created for themselves, but if we don't want to be part of that timeline and we start thinking and doing and visualizing and feeling different, we're not going to be with them. They're going to be in a different timeline, and we're going to go off in a good direction. So I am totally convinced that what we have created with the mastermind connection, and also what I've been visualizing and intending to be in the future, is going to create a good future in my timeline. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be wonderful tomorrow afternoon at 2:15 in the afternoon. It could take a little longer than that, because there are some physical hurdles that has to be overcome.
And I like how you said your timeline, because this might not necessarily be true for someone else that is on a completely different frequency and train of thinking. They could be on this other timeline where they, being forced to take this experiment and everything's falling apart and they're living in this pandemic. It's very fascinating, the split that can occur and how we can be in two different realities at the same time. But the more and more time passes, the more I've come to see that this is a fact.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that if I say something really radical here, listen close. What if I say that we live in a mind-created, holographically generated, and self-aware universe? How could I prove something like that? Well, there is this theoretical physicist. His name is James Gates, and I keep talking about him all the time, and I don't care. People need to hear it again. And that is that he says that if we look deep in the equations explaining the fabric of space, we find computer language.
Yeah.
Ones and zeros. And we didn't put it there. It's too symmetrical. It is too organized to be random. And intelligence put it there. So there is computer language that creates the reality we are in, that makes it a computer program. Who's sitting at the computer? I found out who it was. It's us. And if it is us, we have the capability through our mind and our hearts, which is kind of the same thing. We can alter our reality through the computer program that is being projected around us. And I know we probably lost 2 or 3 of them out there now, but that's okay.
No, I've gone over things like this before, and I think it's a great theory that, we could be playing our own avatars here in some sort of like cosmic video game. I completely believe that we are a spiritual incarnation in this, meat suit avatar here, and this is just temporary. And in my belief, we're here to experience. It's just a ride. It's temporary. We're going to be here to experience whatever we choose to in this incarnation, and then we might be back for another one, or we might choose to go elsewhere. But I think you're spot on in this. It's some sort of, you could compare it to like, we're these aliens playing video games in these avatar suits or something like that. And come more and more to think that that's a great possibility.
Yeah, of course, when you talk about this being a holographic projection, if you talk to religion, they say, well, yeah, God is creating it, but who's God? The word God was given a meaning it was never meant to have, because in the Sumerian language, it meant great leader. And yeah, we are a great leader of our reality. So we are creating in our reality. We are creators also. It's not just a big guy, there's something in that hard drive up there that allows us to play in the hologram.
Yeah. Yeah, reality's more like Ready Player One than we'd ever imagine.
Yeah. And there's difference between different people. We are playing a little more sophisticated program here, you and me and people that think like us. Then there are others, that play a program like Angry Birds and things like that.
What about the aspect of non-player characters, NPCs? Do you think this is a reality where we have just husks of individuals that there's really no spiritual spark in there and they're just here to be a part of the landscape in the game?
Maybe particularly that thing also have a purpose. Maybe they came here to just do next to nothing, just slide through and observe everything around them and learn from that and take that with them back so they could build on something later on. We have to look at, there's got to be a purpose for absolutely everything. Well, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
No, I agree. I believe that there is a purpose. I'm just wondering if there are individuals that we're interacting with. Like I told somebody in my interview yesterday that there's a theory that up to 70% or more of people we're interacting with online are just fake AI profiles or algorithms that aren't real people. And when you might be able to apply that to reality. I know that, I was talking about this as well, overpopulation. I believe it's a huge myth. I think we could probably fit the whole planet in Texas. But, there's all these empty spaces. Yeah, sure, the cities may be overpopulated, but all these other places around the planet, these country places, these rural places, there's no one there. There's no one living there. And, who's to say that this reality and where there's nothing, is it there until we actually exist in it, until we actually see it? It's fascinating to think about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too, because there is no overpopulation. If you took every man, woman, and child in the world, stuck them in Alaska, you could give them 1 acre of land each. And look at Russia. It has 12 time zones to it, from the west to the east. Almost empty. There is no overpopulation. If it was managed with sane people, it could be divided up and it could be managed so that everybody has a home, a place that they could grow and prosper in. But there's no money in the solution. There's only money in the problem, remember?
Now, there's two different schools, or probably a lot more than two, but there are different schools of thinking as to what this simulation, what this reality, what this realm, what the purpose is. Some believe it's a prison, that we're stuck here, that we are incarnated here and we're workers. We're working for something, we are mining for something, we are giving our energy to something, but we're trapped here. We can't get out. That's one school of thinking. I don't really subscribe to that much. I'm more of that we chose to come here, that we are incarnated here. This is some sort of learning or training or something that we have to experience, that we want to experience, that we come to help out, or something along those lines. That's what this is, this simulation, this planet, whatever we're on, that's what we're here for. Or that it's just we're trapped here in this incarnation, and once we die, we're moving on to something else or going to a different realm. What do you think?
Well, first of all, we never die. We just drop the
I agree with
meat
that.
suit, you call it.
Yeah.
Well, we just dropped that and we have no use for it anymore. It's just kind of like a used car. You know, eventually a car will wear out. We may put some new spark plugs in it from time to time and maybe put a, you know, even a new engine, get a heart transplant. But eventually it's going to go to the scrapyard. So will the body. But we never die. We move on and we take on a different form, we actually take our consciousness with us and we live on. We go back through possibly, you know, there are countless of people that have died and come back and talk about it. They talk about the tunnel they go through and get to the other side. And then they're told that, sorry, you can't get here yet. You got more work to do, and they're back. Or they come through. And then they get to see what's on the other side and the body goes away. And then they come back and they remember their previous existence. And I have some memories like that, being standing around planning a new life situation with 3 or 4, probably 4 or 5, possibly. There were several beings there trying to convince me, or not convince me, but tell me these are your choices that we put together for you. Pick something and then go back and learn more. That I'm playing with words here, but that was basically it. Right. So yeah, it is a school. We come here to learn and grow and create, both for the common good, for other sparks of lives or souls, as well as our own. So there is definitely a purpose.
Now, Woody, I want to talk a bit about the world beyond the spectrum of our vision and the life that could possibly exist there, even possibly beyond our planet and on different planets and galaxies. It's the whole extraterrestrial thing has lately become so confusing and full of misinformation, especially if you're going to be watching it on the media, and a lot of stuff on YouTube. And people in this community have been even infiltrated to spread misinformation or just their own reality of what they think aliens are, but you know, that might not be a reality for someone else. I've also found that this is a very personal phenomenon. I've had my own contact experience in the past couple of years, and it's very unique to each person what they experience, even though they may have some similarities. But I'd like to get your take on what is ET, what is aliens, why are they interacting with us, and what's the bigger picture here?
We know that concept that they kept talking about on Star Trek all the time. You know, there is this prime directive. Mm-hmm. They cannot interfere directly in a society and its growth. Though there are some variances off of that, they have actually interfered several times when we were on the brink of nuclear war. They cannot allow that to happen because that will then affect not just Earth, but also the rest of the solar system somehow. I don't necessarily understand how that would work, but they claim so. That's why they interfered. And aliens can be so many things. That means something not of Earth. Spiritual beings are aliens. Here's something for you Christians and Muslims and other religious people out there. God is an alien because he's not from Earth. So think of it this way. If they are observing us and try to maybe nudge a little bit here and there to get us in the right direction, that is okay because some of them, they care for us. Others, they're totally neutral. They don't really give a rip. And then there are some that come here for the purpose of taking some of us, taking them back and doing maybe things to them that we would not particularly be fond of. There is all those three. Because there are people that have been abducted. There one lady I read about several years ago, she was abducted. She was on the ship, and she was alone in a room, and she walked off into the hallway, curved, so obviously a round ship, and she got into another room, but there were compartments where there were dead humans in it. So yeah, there are some that don't have our best interest at heart. Then again, for some reason, they let her go and go back. So she was back and she talked about it. Many years later, she talked about it when she remembered.
Do you think that there's something inevitable that is going on in the background that is forcing our government to nudge UFOs into the collective consciousness to kind of admit that they're there, but they don't know what they are because possibly something is happening in the future, or maybe they're manufacturing something. I don't know. They want to roll out some toys. Why do you think this is happening at this time that they have all of a sudden, made it okay to mention UFOs in the media?
Well, I think probably you got to remember knowledge is power. They have the knowledge and we don't, and that makes them feel powerful. But they also know that there's so much evidence of extraterrestrial life, extraterrestrial presence, flying craft in the air. People see it all the time. They cannot keep the secret much longer. So they know that. They're trying to hang on as long as they can because they know that once the information is out that, yes, there are aliens among us, people is going to start demanding that, wait a minute, when these ships come here, what are they using for fuel? Do they use diesel or just regular gas? And if they don't, we want some of that technology, and that's going to hurt the oil companies and the people that think they own the place.
Yeah.
So they're trying to hold back as long as they can until they can slowly transition society's energy system over to renewable energy, of course, which will be their renewable energy. That's wind and solar and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not the way it's going to be. I had a little look at that future, and solar and wind energy is a joke anyway. Look at those blades. I mean, just a small sliver of the arc. But there's so many other inventions out there that can pull energy out of the air, out of the ground, or work from magnetic forces, or just gravity alone.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that their technology is not only 50, 100, possibly I've heard up to 300 years more advanced than what they're showing the public. And, I've heard a theory that jets and planes don't even really need jet fuel, that they can operate off of compressed air. Now, I don't know if that's true, but if things like that are true and they're hiding things like that from the public, the free energy would be a solution to everything, and they're basically keeping it from us to keep all the power and control, I believe.
Well, yeah, the jet engine can operate on compressed air because there is also a guy back in the 1970s. He created a car engine that runs on air alone. And of course, he died.
Yeah. Well, I have an individual that's doing the same thing, working on it's actually water fueling cars, and he's afraid to come on the show and talk about it because he gets threats. He gets death threats, and that is so disgusting. It's so awful that you have to worry about this when you're trying to help humanity have free energy and people want to kill you for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. But hey, that's the society we live in. It's all about the money.
Yeah.
But once the alien presence is recognized, there's going to be a question about, we want some of their technology, and they're going to turn to government and say, hey, if you're talking to them, we want you to talk to them about things that is important to us also, not just for your military industrial complex.
Yeah, and there's some that believe that there's going to be some sort of grand deception that comes along with alien contact, that we possibly, the ones that contact us first may not be the ones in our best interest, and there's going to be some sort of grand deception, and that would lead to, possibly a time of peace on Earth that's not really what we think it is. What do you think about that? I've heard quite a few theories about that lately, that it may not even be aliens, that it may be our own government trying to trick us into this, another new world order type thing.
Well, there's a plan for that. There's exactly one of their contingency plans that they have. In fact, Werner von Braun, he talked about that. There's going to be an alien invasion, but it won't be aliens, because anybody out there listening to this, go ahead and Google. Now, quit Googling. Use DuckDuckGo or something else.
There you go.
Yeah. Project Blue Beam. Mm-hmm. Then you got 3 weeks worth of reading. 3 weeks worth of reading right there, just studied, because that is a government program that is put together for be used sometime in the future, that's going to imitate an alien invasion. You're going to have flying discs in the sky, and among them there's going to be a few of them that are real, and because we have flying discs as well as the Russians and the Brits, and they're going to be shooting at things on the ground, so it's just whip up the fear. That is what the plan is. Mm-hmm. And those are not these are not the aliens. So that's why, the way I see it, that is that the first thing that happens, they're not our friends, but the second wave, those are our friends that come in to clean up the first ones. Because once that Project Blue Beam is there, people think the aliens are real anyway. So now they can come in and help us.
Now, seeing as, we could have such an open future as to what direction we could go, what timeline we could pick. Is there going to be a Project Blue Beam? Is there going to be an alien invasion? I don't know. But like you said, I think that if we focus on our most positive timeline, each individual one of us, that would probably produce the best result collectively for the future. But I'm wondering if that would be enough to avoid something that has been, I guess, so planned by these elites, or something so big that it would affect the collective consciousness so much. Say they did a fake invasion and they put, massive spaceships over the White House and blew it up. That's going to have a huge effect on the planet. And, maybe a few of us with eyes to see are going to, question this and be like, I heard that they were going to do something like this. But the rest of the world is going to be like, yes, they're going to welcome the aliens to save us, or whatever happens, they're going to believe whatever they're showing us. I'm wondering, is between now and then, if we can, is it possible to get enough people to be woken up to this, to where it won't be a grand deception and we won't fall for this, for whatever it is, if it's an alien invasion or another oogada-boogada outbreak of a pandemic, whatever's planned in the future, because we all pretty much know a lot of this. Most of these big events are planned. If we can just ignore it and just keep going along with our own timeline.
I think that's what we probably have to do, because this alien invasion, that is mostly a holographic projection of these ships. They're not real. They're just holographic projections of it, with a few real ones in between that, do things. But as long as we stay creators in our own holographic projections of what we want to have happening in the future, we got a lot better chance of there being good things in there. Whatever other people are creating in other timelines, let them have it. They may be okay too, but we shouldn't care, because we don't really know, and that is in their timeline. It's not ours. Now, the thing about quantum mechanics also says that we probably are in that timeline too, but our thinking may have been different to accept what they have in that timeline. And I don't want any part of that part of me that is accepting something like that. I want to stay with what I know, what I have, and I know I can create.
Yes,
that's what we're doing in the Mastermind Connection on Sundays. We are creating some really beautiful things out there.
Yeah, and that's what I want to spend the last few minutes of the show doing, is maybe offering solutions to people. We were talking about this before the show, how you like to, bring the positive side and offer people some solutions to their problems and what we're facing right now collectively. And I know one of the things you were going to bring up is, supplements for health, because, even though we are a spiritual incarnation in this physical body, we got to take care of it. We got to, especially during these times, we have to be healthy. And I found that my spiritual journey really didn't even begin till I started getting my physical body healthy.
Yeah. And they kind of go together, both the mind and the body. Mind, body, and spirit goes together. And if one of them is deficient or gets sick, it's going to drag the other two back. Because if you get so physically sick, you really can't think about anything but being sick, what's going to happen to your spiritual development? That's going to stagnate. So you got to keep track of both of them. And that's why some of the people out there that is listening to this is probably being either strong-armed or coerced or talked into doing this stupid solution for this global...
Yes, this experiment.
Yeah, the experiment. There you go.
Yeah.
So your arm is hurting for a while afterwards, and now you're wondering, what did I do to myself? Well, there is antidotes. Now, there are other ways that you can actually get these things, and that through something that when you sweat, it comes out through your skin, and then you touch other people that have, and then they get it from that and gets in their skin. So may not necessarily through this, getting it through the arm. That's not necessarily the only way you can get it, but there is antidotes. And one of them is to keep your immune system really strong. And one of the best ways that is being talked about by the frontline people that is very well educated in the way of keeping a healthy body. This is one of them. Oh, got it. Zinc. Yeah. And the other one, vitamin D3. Those two together, it's an absolute must to keep the body healthy. And also, in order to do that, there's another one, and that is, I buy it by the pound, so I don't have a bag to show you, but here it is. NAC. There's a chemical name for it, and I don't want to hurt my tongue trying to, say it. And that is very important. This one is NAC is very important, because the substance that you get when your arm hurt, it gets into the blood system and it starts coagulating into structural spikes and crystalline structures, and you start obstructing blood vessels. Now, NAC break up this so the blood will flow again. And that is very good for capillaries, especially when it comes to the brain. That's why a lot of people have blood clots. And that is one of the major ways that things go really bad. Another thing is based here, something that is very important to do, and that is keep an alkaline body.
Yeah.
When your body is alkaline, you won't get sick. I use baking soda, simple baking soda. I buy it by the 20-pound bag, and it lasts a year or more. So when you do that, because back in 1931, Dr. Otto Warburg got the Nobel Prize for discovering that no bacteria or virus can live in a heavy oxygenated and alkaline environment. So when you alkaline your body, no bacteria or virus can live in it. Try to keep 7 is neutral, I'm told that 7.4 or something like that, a little more is optimum. I don't care. I bring it up to 8. When you have it at 8, I've done that for years. And once in a while it drops down when I'm out traveling or doing things. So I got to watch it and then bring it back up again. When you're at 8 or above, there is no chance of you having any viruses. They cannot live in your body. According to medical journals, this is not me talking now. I'm not practicing medicine here for you idiots in government that think that I do. No, I don't. This is common knowledge if you read medical journals, and I do. So another thing that is very important, and that is what happened to old people. They die, right? Why? Because the heart stopped. Selenium is something that does wonderful. Gosh, with a background like this, I can't hardly see it.
Yeah,
Selenium is very important to keep a strong heart. I would highly recommend to take it because I do, and I got a strong heart. Another thing for you guys, kind of a novelty, but it's a cute one. For you guys out there that have gray hair, you want to have your hair color back? First of all, alkalize the body, because gray hair is not a function of age, has nothing to do with age. It is a function of having an acidic body and copper deficiency. With I'm taking chelated copper right now because I bought so much of it, I got to use it up, but it's not the best. It should be ionic copper. You can buy that in bottles and, a couple of drops and so on. That's what I used to. Ionic copper and an alkaline body, your hair color will start coming back. Just think about that. And then another one that I just want to mention, and that is that if you go to Broadcast Team Alpha, go under blogs and click on health, you will read an article that explains how you can reverse the aging process. I also wrote a book that, it's way up there. I can't get my hands on it right now, but it's Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. That book explains how you can reverse the aging process, because that Nobel Prize in 2009 was given to 3 doctors that show how to do it, and nobody told us. See, the people that think they own the place, they want to reduce the population by 90% down to 800 million people globally. So that's one of the reasons they didn't tell you. But here is something. The astragalus is an herb that I have another book on the shelf besides in mine. I explain how to do this, where if you take a astragalus in the large doses, it would lengthen your telomeres at the end of the chromosomes, so the cells will be able to replicate themselves again, and you won't get stuck with old cells in the body and start getting wrinkled and old. 5 years ago, I started, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started to look a little rough in the edges, but I'm coming back from that. I'm 75. How much gray hair do you see?
Wow.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
So there is something to this. It's not just me. I get emails every week from usually several people saying, thank you. You changed my life, because of what they read in the book about how to stay healthy and other things. Go to Amazon, by the way. Go to Amazon, put my name in there, and click on the books, and you will read all the 7 different topics in the book that will change your life.
That's great. Yeah, you mentioned, nutrition or preventative care, or even just eating right to a doctor, and it's like they glaze over and they don't know what to do because that's not part of what their protocol is. They want to keep you sick to keep you coming back, to keep giving you these medications that'll keep you sick and keep you coming back, and it's just a ongoing process of killing you slowly. But you're right, these preventative nutrition and just eating right and getting your diet right and having an alkaline system, it's as simple as that, and you don't even have to go to the doctor. You could take care of your own health and take control of it, and possibly, like you said, reverse some of the aging process that's going on.
Yeah, and the thing about it, I haven't been to a doctor since 1995. That's the last year I went to get a flight physical. Being a pilot, you have to get a medical every 6 months. And after that, I had no use for them. So I haven't been there since. And I don't know. I don't feel like I have a reason to, because I take care of myself otherwise. But that is the body. Taking care of the mind is just as important. And that's why I want to invite everybody to come and check us out in this spiritual think tank, the Mastermind Connection at gmail.com. The Mastermind Connection at gmail.com is where you send us an email and ask for more information. I'm going to send you a bunch of information that you can go check out. And then on Saturday evening, I will send you an email with a link to come and join us and check it out on Sunday at 11 o'clock Pacific time, 2 o'clock East Coast time, USA, and 9 o'clock in Norway and Central Europe, and 8 o'clock England, and so on.
That's great. Aage, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, and I'd also like you to let the audience know everywhere that they can find you, and as well as Broadcast Team Alpha and anything else you got going on.
Well, broadcastteamalpha.com is the website, and you'll find us on YouTube with the same, and we're on a bunch of other social media sites. But also, Nori and I are doing the Mastermind Connection on Sundays. It is extremely important that we take care of our mind, and we help do that. We also have some deep discussions going on Monday night and Wednesday night. We discuss different things, and it's kind of an educational thing. So that's what I want to say about that. But get in touch. Also, friend us on Facebook. We're there. We're all over the place. So we have a lot of good stuff we put there too for information and so on that we kind of, gain from other people on Facebook. Good stuff that never makes it to the website or the YouTube.
Right. Well, Aage, thank you so much. That was fantastic, and we're living in very interesting and fascinating times. We're going to have to keep getting you back on here to have some updates and some great conversation.
We can do that.
Of course. Well, thank you so much again, Aage. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow.